أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا واللعنة الدائمة الباقية لأعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم وغاصب حقوقهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: إن الله اصطفى آدم ونوحا وآل إبراهيم وآل عمران على العالمين. صلوات أكبر. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all on the eve of the birth anniversary of the first grandchild of the Prophet of Islam, Al-Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi salatu wassalam. Just listening to the auction and the donation drive for Masumin Center in Al-Ain, I thought maybe it's appropriate to begin with the example of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi salatu wassalam. You know, sometimes the young Muslims and the youths of the community hear the examples of the people of our own time, and they become very much impressed. Whereas we also should not forget our own history and look at the role models and example in our own, seerah of the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt. Remember, there was a time when Bill Gates and others from his own class, started challenging one another, to donate half of whatever they have in charity. And this was very much appreciated. People were asking questions: will they go to Jannah or not? That's a different issue, because there is a difference in the worldly perspective and the divine perspective. I and you don't have the ability to go into the heart and mind of an individual to know what was the motivation behind their good deed. We just look at the action and we say, this is a good person. But when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the motivation. Why? What was the niyat? And so it's not really the amount which is more important in the eyes of Allah, it is the intention. Somebody might have a niyat of giving $100,000 for building a center, and somebody can even only afford $50. But if the first person had the intention so that, my name should be there, whereas this other person says, no, I don't care, $50 is not a big amount, doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that $50 will be accepted, whereas the $100,000 would not be accepted. If you did it for your own fame, Allah will reward you that fame in the dunya, but don't ask anything in the akhirah. So motivation is very important. Now when it comes to this example that I mentioned, when you study the seerah of our second Imam, who is known to be a very generous person in all different ways, the way he would interact with the people, even with the enemies, he will be very kind, forgiving, and charitable towards them. And one of the examples which is very famous and which is probably unique to him is that 3 times in his life he actually gathered his whole total worldly possessions. Not once, 3 times in his life. And then he separated it in 2 parts, gave away one and kept the other for himself. And so we have these examples, when we are looking for examples Alhamdulillah, our history and the examples that we have from the Ahlul Bayt and their true followers are things that we have to learn about it and remember that. Salawat. When we talk about Imam Hassan Mustaba alayhi salam, we have to realize he comes from a family which has been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Al Imran, there is an ayat where he says, Inna Allah astafa. Istafa is a verb which means to choose. That's why the Prophet is known as Al-Mustafa, the chosen one. Inna Allah astafa, verily Allah has chosen Adam, the first human being. Wa Nuhan, then he comes to Adam because, Nuh, because he was the person after whom all the children of Adam came through him. And then immediately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes to a family. That among his selection in the human society, he went to Wa'ala Ibrahim, the family and the descendants of Ibrahim. And the family of Ibrahim comes from the descendants of Ismail and Ishaq. From Ishaq you have Bani Israel. That's what they are known. Bani Israel all the way to Isa alayhi salam. Now, there might be, somebody might say, well, Allah has chosen Ala Ibrahim. It means Allah has chosen everyone in that. Just to qualify that statement, Allah adds the one, Wa Ala Imran. Ala Imran is part of Ala Ibrahim already. But then he singles out, Ala Imran from Ishaq's line is the family of Maryam and Isa alayhi salam. And if you look at the name of the father of Ahlul Bayt, Abu Talib, he is also known as Imran from Ali Ismail. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to make it clear that yes, I have chosen the family of Ibrahim, but not everyone is a chosen one among them. He restricts that there are some. For example, Ali Imran on this side and Ali Imran on the other side, which refers to the Ahlul Bayt. Salawat. So we see that when you talk about Ali Ibrahim during the days of the Prophet, of course he is there at the top. But during his lifetime, the 4 other individuals who would be qualified as the selected ones were 2 adults and 2 children. Among adults you have Ali and Fatima, and among children you have Hassan and Hussein alayhim salatu wassalam. Although he lived only for about 8 years during the life of the Prophet, he didn't see Rasulullah more than that. But the number of ahadith that we have from the Prophet about him and his brother Imam Hussein alayhi salam are quite a lot. And remember, this is not the grandfather talking about his grandsons. This is a Nabi talking about those who will be the leaders in the future. For example, there is one hadith where he says, Huwa Sayyid al-Shabab Ahl Jannah, referring to Hassan Mujtaba. He says he is one of the leaders of the youths of paradise. Wa hujjatullah al-ummah. He is the proof of Allah on the ummah. Amruhu amri. His command is my command. Wa qawluhu qawli. Whatever he says, those are my words. Man tabi'uhu fa'innahu minni. Whoever follows Hassan, he is from me. He is from my followers. Wa man asahu fa'innahu laysa minni. And whoever disobeys Hassan, he is not from me. And this is a very strong statement that we see, and this is from the Shi'i source as well as the Sunni source. Another statement that we see, and this is where we come to realize when he says somebody who obeys him is from me, and if somebody who disobeys is not from me. These are not about family ties, not just that he loves his grandchildren. This is a religious affiliation we are talking about. For example, Tirmidhi in his Sunan and Ibn Majah, these are the prominent muhaddithin of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They have a statement about Imam Hassan alayhi salam that the Prophet says, "Ana silmun liman salamahum." Whoever is at peace with him is at peace with me. Wa harbun liman harabahum. Ana silmun liman salamtuhum wa harbun liman harabtum. Referring actually, that's another word from Hadith Kisa. The wordings here are different. Ana silmun liman salamtum. That I am at, peace with whomever you conclude the peace. And I am at war with whomever you fight. We are talking about, addressing Hassan and Hussein. There's another very interesting, narration from Ibn Majah, referring to Anas bin Malik. He was kind of a servant of Rasulullah. One day Rasulullah was in the masjid. And remember the house of Rasulullah and the house of Fatima, they were all close by. And their doors actually opened in the courtyard of the masjid. And so it was very, very common, and it was very possible, for the grandson of the Prophet to, just walk out and go into the masjid. That's their backyard, if I may use that term. They come out of the house, it is their sahan of the Masjid of Nabi. And that's it's a whole, concept. The program is late and it's school time tomorrow, but, let me just say one more thing. Salawat. Initially, when Masjid al-Nabi was built, the Prophet's house was built there, Ali and Fatima's house, and then some of the relatives of Rasulullah as well as the prominent Sahaba. And all of these houses had doors opening in the courtyard of the masjid. Then the order came in of Taharat and Najasat. And one of the issues was that a person who is in the state of Janabat, they are not allowed to enter into Masjid al-Nabi without doing ghusl. And this is where Rasulullah went and, and announced to all those who had owned the house on that, their door were opening inside the sahan of the Masjid al-Nabi, all of you have to close your doors, open it from the other side on the street. Only 2 doors will be left open. One was the private chamber, room of Rasulullah, and the other was the door of Ali and Fatima. Rules. Sometimes they say, oh, they were good people, we respect them. But it's not just respecting them. There's one rule for the ummah, but the standard of Ahlul Bayt is something else. Don't treat them like yourselves. The rules are different for them. And, even the uncle of the Prophet, Abbas, he had his house in that line. And he was very kind of hurt. He came to Rasulullah, he said, you are my nephew, Ali is my nephew. Your door, okay, you are Rasul. You left his door open, what about me? Now he was the uncle, he could go and say that to Rasulullah, but there were many others also who had complained. And then Rasulullah asked the gathering to come in the masjid. Goes on the member. He says, oh people, you have to know, I did not close anybody's door, neither did I left open anyone's door. Everything was done by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm just following the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat. So it was very, very, it's not difficult to think that, the children would be going into the masjid. And so this is Hassan, very young, already walking. And so he goes into the masjid, and Anas bin Malik saw, and he ran to hold him. out of, that Rasulullah probably is giving a khutbah or something, busy. And that is where the Rasul turned to Anas. He says, Wayyahak, ya Anas. Oh Anas, hold on. Da' ibni wa thamarata fuwadi. Leave my son and the apple of my heart alone. فَإِنَّ مَنْ آذَ هَذَا آذَانِي. Whoever hurts him actually has hurt me. وَمَنْ آذَانِي فَقَدْ آذَى اللَّهِ. And whoever hurts me has hurt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now of course, nobody can hurt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's just the issue of, showing the importance that when you do that to me, as if you are hurting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you hurt Hassan, you are hurting me, and if you hurt me, it's as if you are hurting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you look at this is again Ibn Majah, a Sunni source, and if it is there in that way, then just think about it. Read history later on. Who were the people who hurt Hassan? You have the names like Muawiyah, Marwan, Amr ibn As, and the whole gang. And if they hurt Hassan, it means they hurt Rasulullah. If they hurt Rasulullah, they have hurt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And yet the Muslims still have problems. Oh, leave the judgment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are all ashara mubashara. They have been guaranteed Jannah. We don't want to make any judgment. But this is where indications that Rasulullah has left there. That when you look at Hassan, don't think of him as my grandson. He is a hujjat of Allah and an imam in his own right. Salawat padne par. Let me give you one more example. When it comes to the Islamic laws, the issue, for example, pledging allegiance to Rasul or the Imam, that action. This is not required from those who are minor. This is only applicable to those who are baligh, mature. The minor children are to be classified according to the religion of their parents. You don't ask them, oh, have you said Shahada or not? If the father has said Shahada, the child is a Muslim. Because the issue of bay'at doesn't come in there. Or for example, when we talk about the issue of being a witness in any document from the religious point of view has to be baligh and mature. But it's interesting. Again, we see when it comes to Hassan and Hussein, the rules are changed. There was a tribe by the name of Saqif. They came to Rasulullah after some negotiations. A peace treaty was signed. And, it's very interesting. This is in the Shia Sunni sources both. The way the treaty had been signed and the wordings are there in history. It has been recorded. I'll just read it to you that فَإِنَّ هَذَا مِنْ مُحَمَّدٍ النَّبِيِّ. This is the document. That this is a treaty from Muhammad al-Nabi, the Prophet. وَكَتَبَ Khalid bin Sa'id. Khalid bin Sa'id was the scribe, the secretary writing that treaty. بِأَمْرِ Muhammad bin Abdullah Rasulullah. By the command of Muhammad bin Abdullah, who is the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that no one, should violate the rights of the people of Saqif. This is the command of Rasulullah. And then at the end it says, وَشَهِدَ عَلَى نُسْخَةِ هَذِهِ الصَّحِيفَةِ. This document, there is the witnesses has been done. صحيفة رسول الله الذي كتبت لسقيف. The witnesses who are there, Khalid bin Sa'id was there. Many others were there. Khalid bin Sa'id, but the witnesses are, number one, Ali bin Abi Talib, wa Hassan bin Ali, wa Hussein bin Ali. What was the age of Hassan and Hussein at that time? This is in the 8th year of Hijrah. Hassan was 5, Hussein was 4. They're not even baligh. Yet they are worthy to be the witnesses of the document and the guarantee which the Rasulullah has given to the tribe of Saqif. Not that they were alone at that time and others were not around. No. This is where it shows that when it comes to Ahlul Bayt, their status is different in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat. Even when it comes to the knowledge, this is Amir al-Mu'mineen or Imam Hassan or Imam Hussein. Especially when it comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen, there was a very planned attempt to basically diminish his status or reduce his fadail. But it's amazing that even when they fabricated things about him, they did not dare fabricate teachers for Ali. There is not even a fabricated hadith for that. That Ali was taught Arabic language and eloquence and clarity of language by so and so poet or a person who was expert of letters or something like that. No, nobody, because they know that writing something like that is a what do you call it? White lie. Nobody is going to buy that at all. And that goes for everyone from the Ahlul Bayt. There was during the time of the first Khalifa, and this is in Qadi Nu'man's book, Shahrul Akhbar, where he says, أن عربيا سأل أبا بكر. One day, when Abu Bakr was the Khalifa, a Bedouin came and he asked him a question. The question was about Hajj. In Islamic laws, those who study Islamic laws, one of the difficult chapters is the Kitab al-Hajj. If you're not gone for Hajj or Umrah and then you read Kitab al-Hajj, it's just theory. You wouldn't know, what is Ihram, what is Miqat. Yes, you learn and you have to pass the exam for it. But really to understand it, you really have to go for Hajj. Once you do Hajj, everything will be there in your mind, very clear. There are 5 things in Umrah, 14 things in Hajj. I can give you the list now, but when I was studying, if you had asked me, I would have to go and memorize it for the test. So it's one of the difficult, chapters there. And so this was a question about Hajj. This Bedouin comes and says, إني أصبت ببيض نعام فشويته وأكلته وأنا محرم فما يجب علي. He says to the Khalifa, you are now sitting there in the place of Rasulullah, and I have this mas'ala, this question, that I was able to get a egg from the ostrich, and mashallah it's in a good size, huh? I've seen that in South Africa when I visited one of the farms of ostrich there. So he says, I got it. And then I, cooked it and I ate it while I did this when I was in Ihram. Now you know that in Ihram, anything to do with hunting or something like that is not allowed. فَمَا يَجِبُ عَلَيَّ. So what is the kafara on me? The Khalifa says, Ya Irabi, ashkalta alayya fi qaziyatika. You put me in trouble. I don't know the answer to this. فَدَلَّوْا عَلَى Umar. He said, go and ask Umar. He goes to him and he says, go to Abdurrahman bin Auf. They were very close friends. فَلَمَّا عَجَزُوا. When all 3 of them were not able to answer, then they say, عَلَيْكَ بِالْعَسْلَعِ. Amir al-Mu'mineen didn't have much hair on his head at that time. So he was called Asla' because of that. So they say, you go and ask him. So they go to Amir al-Mu'mineen, and interestingly, Hassan and Hussein both were there with him. And you can imagine, this is the time of Abu Bakr, his Khilafat was 2-3 years only. Imam Hassan was 8 years old when Rasulullah passed away, so this is, maximum 10, 11 years old. And so when this question was put to Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Sal ayyil ghulamain shi'ta. Go and ask any of my two sons here. I don't have to answer. Go and ask them. And so this fellow goes to Imam Hassan, repeated the question, and Imam Hassan says, Ya Arabi, alaka ibil? Do you have a camel? He said, yeah, I have. He says, then, go and get a camel, a she camel, and basically take the she camel to your he camel, and then whatever comes out at the end, the baby, you will basically dedicate that to the haram, or as a qurbani, or for the service of the Kaaba. So this was a replacement for the egg of the ostrich. Amir al-Mu'mineen now asked a follow-up question to Imam Hassan. The Arabi, this Bedouin knew, okay, what he has to do. But Amir al-Mu'mineen said, وَإِنَّ مِنَ النُّوقِ السُّلُوبُ وَمِنْهَا مَا يَزْلِقُ. What if the camel has a miscarriage? This is Ali asking Imam Hassan, huh? Look at his answer. He says, yes, the she camel can have a miscarriage, but even the egg could have been a rotten one. So whatever happens, happens. It's bad luck. And this is where, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, أيها الناس إن الذي فهم هذا الغلام هو الذي فهم Sulaiman bin Dawood. The one who gave this understanding and knowledge to this child is the same one who gave the knowledge to Sulaiman bin Dawood alayhi salam. Salawat. So basically, this fada'il that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the Ahlul Bayt, these are not some acquired from fellow human beings, and especially when it comes to the knowledge, this is where, those who are the opponents just give up because they know they cannot do anything. This is beyond their reach. And this is where we have to, always remember that is the superiority of the Ahlul Bayt as far as their akhlaq and their knowledge is concerned. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to understand their fazilat more. Let me just very quickly, because it's getting close to 10, end with a statement in Urdu. अक्सर अरबों में बेटी की उतनी अहमियत नहीं थी. आप जानते हैं अरबों में अगर बेटी पैदा हो तो उसे अपने लिए बेइज्जती समझते थे, जिंदा दफन भी करते थे. खुलफा में से भी कुछ ऐसे गुजरे थे, बड़ों की बात कर रहे हैं जिन्होंने ये किया था अपनी ज़िंदगी में जाहिलियत के दौर में. बहरहाल, और उसमें एक मसला ये होता था, ये पूरे जो सूरह कौसर है, अबतर का उन्वान जो है, ये इसीलिए था कि रसूल की बेटी तो थी लेकिन बेटा 3 पैदा हुए और वो मर गए. तो इसलिए वो दुश्मन जो था आस बिन वाइल ने रसूलुल्लाह को अबतर कहा कि आपका नाम अब नहीं चलेगा. और खुदावंद आलम ने चाहा था कि उस मुआशरे में इस मेंटालिटी को बिल्कुल चेंज करे, और इसलिए रसूल इस्लाम को एक लिहाज से बेटों से महरूम रखा, ताकि ये अंदाज़ा हो कि ख़ुद रसूल की नस्ल जो है बेटे से नहीं चलेगी बल्कि बेटी से चलेगी. और यही हुआ है. آپ دیکھتے ہیں انا اعطیناک الکوثر سے مراد اولاد فاطمہ زہرا صلوات اللہ علیہ ہیں۔ لیکن یہ مینٹالٹی جو جاہلیت کی تھی اس کو بھی اکثر دشمن یہ عنوان استعمال کرتے ہیں۔ وہ کہتے ہیں علی کی اولاد سے، امام حسن ہوں یا امام موسیٰ کاظم ہوں یا امام رضا علیہ السلام ہوں، کہ آپ کو آپ کے فالوور جو ہیں یبن رسول اللہ کیوں کہتے ہیں؟ رسول اللہ تو آپ کے نانا ہوئے، دادا تو نہیں ہوئے، تو کس بنیاد پر آپ کو یبن رسول اللہ کہتے ہیں، یعنی رسول کے بیٹے؟ بلکہ ہارون نے تو یہی کہا تھا کہ بھئی ہمارا اور آپ کا رشتہ تو برابر ہی ہے، یعنی ہمارے اینسسٹر جو ہیں وہ عباس ہیں اور آپ کے اینسسٹر علی کے تھرو ابو طالب ہیں، اور رسول اللہ وہاں پہ ہیں عبداللہ، ایک ہی رشتے سے ہیں، تو آپ کہاں سے یبن رسول اللہ ہو گئے؟ بھئی خداوند عالم نے خود ہی دلیل جو ہے واقع مباہلہ میں دیا ہے۔ مباہلہ کا واقعہ جو تھا اس میں یہی تھا نا کہ فَقُلْ ادعوا ابناءنا وابناءکم ونساءنا ونساءکم وانفسنا وانفسکم، وہاں ابناء میں یہ مدینہ میں ہیں، یہ نہیں کہ رسول اللہ سفر میں گئے تھے اور مباہلہ جو ہے کہیں اور ہوا تھا، nobody was with him، no، خود خاندان میں کتنے بچے تھے بنو ہاشم کے، لیکن رسول صرف حسن و حسین کو لے کے جاتے ہیں۔ آیت میں جو لفظ ہے ابنا پرولر ہے ابن کا، عربک میں سنگولر ہوتا ہے، پھر ڈوول ہوتا ہے، پھر جا کے پرولر سے مراد 3 اور مور، 2 نہیں۔ لیکن یہاں لفظ جو ہے خدا نے کہا ہے کہ اے رسول آپ ان سے کہیں کہ وہ اپنے بیٹوں کو لے کے آئے، ہم اپنے بیٹوں کو لے کے آئیں گے۔ لیکن رسول نے قرآن کے جو الفاظ ہیں اس کا جو لفظی تقاضا پورا نہیں کیا، بیٹوں کو لے کے نہیں آئے، صرف 2 بیٹوں کو لے کے آئے۔ انفس میں بھی پرولر ہے، 3 اور مور ہونے چاہیے تھے، وہاں بھی صرف 2 کو لے کے آئے، اپنے آپ کو اور علی کو۔ نساء میں کہ اور نسانہ میں تو اور کمال کر دیا، وہاں تو 2 بھی نہیں، صرف ایک ہی کو لے کے آئے۔ تو حکم الہی میں گنجائش تھی، پوٹینشل تھا کہ more people could have been brought and there were many people around۔ مدینہ ہی میں تھے، رشتہ داروں میں ہی تھے، بہت سے مرد تھے، عورتیں تھے، بچے تھے بنو ہاشم کے، لیکن رسول نہیں لے کے آئے، صرف انہی کو لے کے آئے کہ جو عصمت و طہارت کے اس منزل پہ تھے۔ ابناءنا میں حسن اور حسین ہیں، اور کمال یہ ہے کہ اہل سنت والجماعت کے علماء بھی واقع مباہلہ کو سورہ آل عمران میں آیا ہے اس کو جانتے بھی نہیں ہیں، کبھی اس کے ذکر نہیں ہوتا ہے۔ ہم یہ کہتے ہیں آپ لوگ جو ہیں انٹرفیتھ کی بات کرتے ہیں، کرسچنز کے ساتھ ڈائیلاگ کرتے ہیں، کم سے کم مباہلہ کا واقعہ تو پیش کرو ان کے سامنے۔ وہ پیش اس لیے نہیں کرتے ہیں کہ اس میں فضیلت جو ہے اہل بیت کی ہے۔ لیکن یہاں پر بات جو ہے وہ یہی ہے کہ رسول اسلام کے لیے لفظی طور پہ گنجائش بہت تھی اور بچوں کو بھی لے کے آ سکتے تھے، لیکن رسول اسلام جو ہیں ذرا وہ رسک فیکٹر کو دیکھ رہے تھے۔ You don't want to put yourself into risk، اس لیے کہ مباہلہ میں ہوتا کیا ہے، وہاں دعا ہوتی ہے کہ خداوندہ ہم میں سے جو بھی جھوٹا گروہ ہے، یعنی ہمارے گروپ میں جو بھی لائرز ہیں ان پر لعنت نازل کرو۔ رسول اللہ didn't want to take any risk، وہ صرف ان کو لے کے آئے کہ جو ہر لحاظ سے ظاہر و باطن کے اعتبار سے پاک و پاکیزہ اور سچے تھے، اور یہ سوائے حسن اور حسین اور علی و فاطمہ کے شکل میں کوئی نہیں ملا رسول کو۔ صلوات پڑھنے پڑا۔ تو آئے مباہلت میں ابناءنا کے عنوان سے اس کا جو مصداق ہے، اگزامپل جو ہے وہ حسن اور حسین ہیں، تو قرآن کے اعتبار سے انہیں ابن رسول کہنا جو ہے وہ بالکل صحیح ہے۔ اور اسی سے ہم لوگ جو ہیں انہیں ابناء رسول اللہ کہتے ہیں، یہ اولاد رسول ہیں فاطمہ کے ذریعے، اور خداوند عالم نے اسی عنوان سے انہیں فضیلت دی ہے۔ خداوند اس قریبہ قبول فرما، ہمارے گناہوں کو بخش دے، ہماری توفیقات میں اضافہ فرما۔ خداوندہ ہم لوگوں کو صحیح معنوں میں محمد آل محمد کے راستے پر قائم اور دائم رہنے کی صلاحیت عنایت فرما، امام کے ظہور میں تاجل فرما۔ ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم۔